everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel. So today I'm going to show you how to do some different acrylic designs because a lot of my channel is very samey acrylic or is gel. So I just thought for the acrylic techs out there that watch my channel, it might be useful to have a few acrylic things as well. So I was going to do it like a compilation style where I just speed most of it up. Then I thought, well, the only problem with compilations is it take me ages to edit, and basically that's the main problem. So I'm just going to basically do the designs one after the other, and then I'm going to obviously top coat them all at the end. So first of all, we're going to start up with an ombre, literally just a simple ombre. I am using Tia's Beauty Rose and White for this because Rose is a beautiful pink and it blends beautifully. So first of all, we're going to apply our white to the free edge. Obviously it's a bit annoying because the nail itself is white. We're just going to have to just ignore that, but never mind. So I always place it like just before where I want the blend to start, and then obviously the first thing we need to worry about is the blend itself. Well, that's all we need to worry about with an ombre really. So we're just going to pull that up really gently. Not a lot of the product, you just want to pull it up enough for it to blend out. It's very annoying that these are white because you really can't see that. But once you've done that, we're then just going to pull the white down the rest of the nail, because as soon as we've finished making sure that the blend is going to be nice and smooth, we can then move on to the rest of the nail. So I'm just pulling that down the rest, and then if you need to, you can always apply a little bit more white. I'm really sorry that this is a white nail, I didn't even think this through, did I? I should have done a coloured ombre, but never mind. And then I'm just going to pull that up at the very free edge, but just make sure that this area here where your pink's going to meet your white, that it's nice and thin and smooth. That is the main thing. If this area is really bumpy, you can see from the side, look, super thin, literally just enough there to get the white coverage, but obviously you can't see that. But if it's really bumpy, it's going to be really difficult for your next colour to stick. So then I'm going to use my rose powder. I'm going to place it just before where I want the blend to be, and I'm just making sure that behind the bead is nice and smooth, because if we have a big ridge in it and then we put acrylic over the top of the ridge, it's going to be really obvious. And then we're just going to pull down over the white. Super easy. I mean, I definitely am realising now that using pigmented colours like that are really obvious on white would have been helpful, but you get the gist, it's fine. Same process, just different colours. So again, just making sure that behind the bead is nice and thin, because if it's really thick, the next one is going to be bumpy, and then that's when we're going to go over and pull it down. There's a little hair in there, which is very annoying. Definitely not useful that I'm working in my really freezing cold nail room as well. I can't have the heater on because I think you'll be able to hear it, and it's quite annoying. So it's one of those things, I'm going to have to work quite wet with my acrylic and just play with it for a little bit longer than I would like, just because it is cold, which means it's not going to set as quick, because the warmer the room, the quicker your acrylic will set. So super easy. That is it for this nail. And what you can always do as well, especially with colours, if your blend isn't exactly how you'd like it in the middle, you can always pick up your like coloured acrylic. Obviously this is just pink in mine. Just pick a bit of that up and then go into your clear, and then place that where the blend is, and then just blend it down. And because it's clear, it will sort of like, because it's mixed with clear, it will sort of dilute. It'll dilute your colour a little bit, so it's easier for it to blend in. I hope that makes sense. But basically that's it for the ombre nail. Super easy. So that is number one. Next up, we're going to be doing an ombre again, but we're going to be ombre and glitters into each other this time. So first of all, the colours I'm using are these two. So we've got Tango on the right and Scarlet on the left. And then the glitters that we're going to use to match those are this premix glitter on the right, which is the Duchess from Tia's Beauty. And then on the left, we've got Fall, which is a loose glitter from Sparkle Supplies UK. It's absolutely beautiful. So the reason that I use a colour that matches like underneath is because if you do have any gaps in your glitter, like premix glitter or just loose glitter, if there's any sort of tiny gaps in it, then it just means that you're going to basically not be able to see them as much because something similar is underneath. So it's not a problem. So first of all, we're going to basically do very similar to the first nail that I just showed you. It's still going to be an ombre, but we're not going to worry too much about the actual like fade of the colours themselves. It's the glitter fade we're going to be more worried about. So we're placing down the first colour, that's going to be the free edge colour, and we're just going to blend that up gently, just like we did with the white in the last nail. And then we're going to pull down over the rest of the nail when we're happy with the blend again. And then, like I mentioned last time, obviously I didn't pick up enough product for this length of nail. You can just go in and place on the free edge and then blend up. So we're working really, really thin, because if you imagine, like if this was on a nail, you'd have a layer of clear, then you'd have your colours, then your glitters, then another clear. So you don't want them to be really, really bulky. So you need to work as thinly as possible. And then we're going to go in with Tango, and we're going to take the liquid out a bit. We're going to place that just before the blend. Again, we're just going to make sure behind the bead is nice and smooth and not really raised as such. And then we're just going to pull that over the red. There we go. And then we'll just do the cuticle, well, what would be the cuticle area if this was a real person. Again, you don't need like absolute full coverage of this. It's literally just more like a wash of colour. Luckily, Tia's Beauty acrylics are super pigmented, so they make this sort of thing super easy. So it's really easy to work really thin, but nice and pigmented at the same time, which is good. And once we've done that, we're going to go in with our glitter. So we're going to do the exact same process, but obviously with glitter. So I'm going into the Duchess, which is the red glitter. I'm just going to place that. Always make sure that you're pointing any nail down if you're working with acrylic, because it'll just, gravity will help you. And then we're going to pull it up. And once we've done that, again, we can go with the rest of it down the nail. Still working nice and thin. And as you can see, there will be tiny gaps like between this red glitter, but you can't actually see them as much because there's a red underneath, so it sort of compensates for that. And then once we've done that, that's the red glitter placed, and then we're going to go in with the other one, which is Fall. And we're just going to go into our clear, because we're basically this isn't pre-mixed, so we're mixing this ourselves. We're going to place it again just before where we want the blend to be. And then just pulling it over the red glitter. And you want some of the specks of red to be like tangled up in Fall, like the top glitter colour, but then you also want some of that to be tangled up with the red as well. And that's what will give you your blended effect of them like being blended into each other. So for now, we don't really have much of a blend, like it is literally just like they meet in the middle, but we're going to sort that out. So what we're doing now is just doing the cuticle bead of Fall. Making sure that's all nice and full coverage glitter. You really don't need a lot of clear at all, because again, we're working thin. So you just need a tiny bit of clear just to hold your glitter. And then once we've done that, I'm going to go into my clear and then into Fall. I'm going to place some down here, just a tiny amount of few specks of Fall down here. And then I'm going to do the same with the Duchess. Obviously that's a pre-mix, so I don't need to pick any up, but we're just going to do that. I'm going to blend the Duchess up and Fall downwards. And it's that easy. It's obviously easy, like depending on the colours that you use. These colours blend really well, but that is how easy that blend is. It's beautiful. So moving on to the next one. This is going to be a part 1 and 2 sort of video, because I have got a few designs to do and I don't want it to be like 40 minutes long. So I'll be doing a few designs in this one and then maybe a few in another one, just so it's not too long. But I prefer doing them like this and talking through, because I like to explain what I'm doing as I go along. But if you do prefer me to do the compilations where I just speed them up and do a really quick voiceover, then let me know, because obviously I can do a mixture of the two. So staying on the whole ombre situation, we've just done an ombre with glitters going into each other and colours going into each other. So now we're going to do like the two mixed. There's 2 more to this video. It's like an ombre compilation sort of video. So we're going to do a glitter ombre, but we're going to ombre it like we're going to fade it into the colour that's above, and then we're also going to do a fade where the colour above fades over the glitter, not under it. So we're going to do both of those now. I am going to mix the colours up a little bit just to give it a bit of something different. So for this one we are using Mimosa, which is this beautiful yellow, and we're using Naked from Tears instead of Rose like we did on the first one. So because this is a glitter fade, we need to lay Naked first. That sounds really strange. We need to lay this colour on here first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that like sped up, because we're literally just placing colour on, and then obviously we can get into the fading of the glitter. Okay, just ignore everything I just said. I totally forgot to do the first bit, which is obviously not helpful for a video where I'm trying to teach you how to do something. So we're going in with Honey first, which is a coloured acrylic from Tears Beauty again, and it's just this beautiful yellow colour. So whereabouts we're going to want the yellow fade to sort of start, we're going to place that, do exactly what we did before and blend it up to make sure it's nice and thin and smooth. And then we're going to pull that down. I definitely need to change my kitchen roll, else I'm going to have this red glitter in everything I do after this. So I'm just going to fold this over to get rid of that. Right, so once we've done that, again, I'm just going to place a little bit more on the very tip. I'm going to just bring that back up. So once I've done that, I'm going to let it set for a second, because yellow is actually really pigmented in acrylic. I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but it literally gets everywhere. It's a nightmare. So I'm going to make sure that my brush is clean by dipping into my liquid and wiping off. And then when it doesn't come up yellow on here, I know my brush is clean. I'm going to give this a sec to set a little bit. It doesn't have to be rock solid, but it needs to be at least just tacky, so it's not going to move around all the way, all over the place even. And then we're going to apply Naked, but I am going to do that just sped up quickly, because we're just going to do the exact same thing as we did with the first one with the normal ombre, but we're going to use Naked. We're going to fade it down, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do after that. So once we've got those colours down, we're then going to get involved with the glitter. So I'm going in again with my clear, just a really small amount, just this much. And I'm going to dip it into my yellow, and I'm going to place that on the nail. And then just going to start moving it around. Obviously down here we don't really need to worry about any sort of blend. We just want to make sure that it's all nice and full coverage, because this area needs to be nice and, what's the word? Well, full coverage. I don't really know where I was going with that. So once we've done that, I'm then going to go in with a clear again, a little bit more this time, because obviously we need a bit more glitter for this area. I'm just going to place a bit more glitter on top. I'm just moving it around to make sure I've got it exactly where I want it. And as we're getting closer to the area where we're going to want to blend, I'm just getting it everywhere I need it. And then I'm going to flip my brush to above it instead, and we're just going to pull it upwards. And because that yellow is obviously underneath, it makes it much better and much more yellow on the free edge. Like, it wasn't a necessity as such. It is literally just because the colour I'm using is iridescent, so it wouldn't have had much colour by itself. If you're using a more pigmented sort of type of glitter, then you'd have been absolutely fine without it. But now we're just placing the glitter onto the nail, and obviously you want more near the free edge and a lot less in the middle, and then a few specks just moving upwards, and that'll give you your, it's really struggling to focus on how sparkly this glitter is, but that'll give you your faded effect. And that is it. You can obviously go further up with the fade, you can go low down, you can do whatever you like, but that is how I'm going to leave this one. So we're going to leave that on for now, and then moving on to the next nail. We're doing something very similar with this one, but it's going to be different colours for a start, and we're going to be basically fading the top colour down over the glitter, not underneath it like the yellow one. So let's get to that. I'll just show you what I'm using first. I'm using this beautiful glitter called Supernova from Sparkle Supplies for this nail. It's absolutely stunning. I'm not going to be using the colour underneath it because it's basically just, it's got a lot of colour itself and just doesn't really need to. So first of all, I'm going in with my clear again. I'm picking up some glitter and placing it right at the free edge, because this is where, again, we want the most coverage to be. I'm not worried about fading at all at this point, because it's way too low down to need to worry about that. So I'm just placing the glitter on at this point. And then what we're going to do next is, obviously as we get further up towards the area where we're going to want the fade, I'm then just going to pull up. So just like you would with a colour, still making sure that it's as smooth as you can get it. Obviously glitter is relatively bumpy, so it's not going to be as smooth as a plain colour would be, but we want to get it as close to that as possible. Don't need them all the way up there. I'm trying to keep the chunkier area, like the chunkier pieces, sort of away from this part. That one doesn't want to leave, so he can stay. Because, oh God, sorry, it's not in focus. Because it's just easier to blend a colour over something that's obviously not like big, chunky and really glittery. So try and keep the chunkier bits in the area where you want it to be most full coverage, and then the ones where you need it to fade out, try and get some smaller pieces up there. So once we've done that, we are still blending it out underneath, because that'll just give a smoother blend when we put it on top. If you just had a real big thick bit here, it'd be harder to blend. You'd still be able to, but it'd be a bit more difficult. So once we've placed the glitter exactly where we want it and we've got it all how we want, we're going to just let that set for a second, just enough like we did last time. And then before we move on to the colour at the cuticle area and fading it down, we're going to just apply some clear first to make it easier. So once we've given that time to set, we're then just going to make sure there's nothing on my brush that doesn't need to be there. Like we don't want any more glitter or anything. So I'm just making sure that my kitchen roll is relatively clean as well. So we're going into the liquid and then into clear. And we're basically encapsulating this at this point. But we still want to keep it relatively thin. So you want to blend up like you would a colour. And all this does is just makes this surface smooth, instead of it being all lumpy bumpy and difficult to apply anything on top of. It will make it nice and smooth, so your next colour that's going to be faded over it will transition nicely and you won't have lumps and bumps to hide. Just makes it a little bit easier to have this down. Doesn't matter as much about the free edge, because obviously it's not going to be blending that far down anyway. But it's just this area here we want to sort of get nice and smooth. So if you look from the side, there's no lumpy bumpy bits at all. It's super thin, and it just means that the next colour is just going to glide over that clear instead of getting stuck in all the little bits of glitter. So we're going to let that set again. Obviously if you're doing this as a full set, you'd be moving on to the next nail, leaving this and then coming back to it at some point. We're going to let it set for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to apply our core powder over the top. So once that's been left for a little bit and it's nice and set, I'm then just going to apply my powder over that. So we're using Naked again, just because it's obviously open on my desk from the last nail. So we're just going to go into that. I'm going to pick up a bead. We're going to get off the excess liquid out the back, place it just before where we want the blend to be. Again, making sure that behind it is nice and smooth, ready for the next bead that goes behind it. And then we're just going to pull. First of all, I'm going to get rid of that little dot of bloody yellow glitter. So we're just pulling that over that blend area. Now you will be able to see it slightly underneath, that's not a problem. We've obviously got more beads to apply, but this is more or less like our blending bead basically. You want this bead, you want to be relatively happy with this bead before you move on to anything else really. So once you've done that, obviously you can bring it further down, you can do it further up, it's totally up to you where you want your blend to be. I want it to be about halfway. Just going to apply a little bit more here because it's a bit thin. And once I've done that, we're going to go behind that bead with another one. Taking the liquid out again because we're not quite at the cuticle area, so we're just going to go here, place that bead, get rid of that really long hair. And then again, make sure that behind it is nice and smooth, ready for the next one to transition into. And then we're going to just very gently pull this down. I'm not pulling from the back of it because you're going to pull all the pigment forward and it's going to ruin your blend. And you're also going to have to apply loads and loads of coats, loads and loads of beads of it, because you're just going to keep pulling the pigment out of the way. It's not going to be nice and full coverage. So I'm literally just placing it, as you can see, the hump's still here because I'm placing it and then pulling it from about here and leaving this there. And then once I've done that, we're going to do the cuticle area. So this time I'm going to pick up a bead, but I'm not going to take the liquid out the back because we don't want this to be super good coverage, because this is obviously where the nail will need to look like it's growing from your client's nail. So you don't need, oh gosh, you don't need absolute full coverage at the cuticle, because you want it to be nice and smooth transition from natural nail to acrylic colour when it grows out. Obviously I've just got glitter all over it, so that sort of ruined it, but there you go. And then obviously at this point you can just evaluate the nail, have a nice look at it, make sure it's how you want it. If you want this area to be further down, you can always just add a bead further down. So we're going to do that. Take the liquid out again, place it just where the blend is, blend it upwards, make sure that's smooth, and then just really, really lightly pulling it downwards. And that is that. Obviously this bit here looks really dull at the moment, but that's because we applied clear. So now I'm just going to go away and, what's it called? I am now going to go and encapsulate all 4 of these nails. I'll just show you what they look like before I do that, and then I'll show you after, and then obviously we'll top coat at the end together as well. But these are the 4 nails we've got. Got some beautiful glitters in there. So I'm going to go and encapsulate all of them, and then we can come back to top coat at the end. Okay, they're all nice and like encapsulated and buffed now. So all we need to do is top coat, which is obviously the best part. So I'm going to be using Tia's Beauty UV/LED gel top coat. I absolutely love this. It's super shiny. So let me just get my lamp. First of all, so we'll do them in order just because, you know, makes more sense. So this is the first one, of course, which is just the plain, let's just get all this dust off me first, which is just the plain ombre. So you're not really able to see much, but you know, never mind, it's still technically a reveal because at least it'll be shiny. Definitely wasn't the best plan to use like a white ombre over white, but never mind. You can see the blend anyway. Well, I hope you can. I think you can. It's fine. Let's pop that in the lamp. So next up we did the glitter one, which is super exciting. I love top coating these types of things. Let's just make sure it's in focus. Look at that. It's absolutely stunning. I'm just making sure to get all of it. Don't want any patches of non-shine. And look at that. Beautiful. I absolutely love that blend. So we're going to pop that in the lamp. And then next up we've got our Mimosa blend. This is such a beautiful glitter. It really is stunning for like summer and spring. It's gorgeous. Very, very reflective. So that's that one. Glitter Fade. And then last but not least, we've got our glitter ombre, which I'm excited to see because this is also a stunning glitter. Well, they all are. I mean, glitter in general is just stunning, but you know, this is just beautiful. And that is the last one. So as you can see, well, I think you can see, you can almost see it like underneath this, which is beautiful. So that's how you get your fade then, because you can see it, but it fades over the top. And then you've got the free edge, which is super sparkly. So I'm going to pop that in the lamp and then we can have a look at them all at the end. Just look at those, aren't they beautiful? I really hope you enjoyed this video and it was of some use. If you do have any more questions that I didn't answer, then please do ask in the comments. I do catch up with them eventually. I see all of them, I just don't always get around to answering like instantly. But if I do see like questions, I do try to like prioritize those, if that makes any sense. Like, I hope so. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll be back really soon with another one. Bye.